Moxley, Anthony Rivera is back with us tonight. The last time I spoke to him, I called him in anticipation of the show. I told this story the last time he was on. I called him in anticipation of the show, just saying, "Hey, are you running with us tonight? These are my thoughts." He didn't answer. He texts me back immediately. He says, "Is everything all right? Is everything all right?" I dared him. He was terrified because I had called him. I don't understand. I think phone calls are still an efficient way to communicate, but I don't know. People prefer text messages. I don't want to type that much, Chris. I don't want to type. Plus, I'm driving and all this other stuff. I don't want to type that much.
You called me today. Like I did. Listen, I go into my phone and I look up recent calls, and it's mom, it's dad, it's my wife, and then it's Felix. Those are who are the people that are calling me. Felix Sharpe called you at 3:56 today, and then I could see all the other times Felix Sharpe called me a week and a half ago, 2:27. Just a lot of people don't understand. There's anxiety in picking up a phone call versus texting. I really think there is.
Is that why I'm single?
I'm not going to get into that debate. I don't think that's fair to you. There is anxiety in picking up a phone call, but I will say this. Now that I have interacted with you for 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that?
Longer. Yeah, something like that.
When you call me, I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, I have no anxiety because you're just calling me to say whatever you'd say in a text. Right, but when someone I'm not comfortable with calls me, I'm freaking out. I don't know what it is. I just like, "Hey, it's getting the 'hey, we need to talk' text." That's what it
is. That's I guess that's what Anthony thought. Is, "Hey, we need to talk."
It must have been.
Hey, I'll say this. I was ready for your call today, but I didn't get one.
That's because it was a very simple rundown. Felix Sharpe, Chris Moxley. This is the Campus2Canton show. Anthony Rivera is keeping us in check. Hopefully, we don't get fired. He's supposed to keep us on the straight and narrow. No, there was no call today because, it's an easier show. We have a lot of content from the NFL Combine, and we have some news from college football. This is your college football show on the Better Sports Network. Yeah, and I apologize for terrifying you. I apologize.
Yeah, you made me nervous. I was worried. I was worried for you. I was worried for the show, but everything worked out. Everything worked out fine. As always.
Who should be nervous, Chris Moxley? Who should be nervous is Quint Ewers in Texas. Quint Ewers in Texas because according to Adam Schefter, there's a quarterback battle going on down there at the 40 acres. Now, for those who don't know, the uninitiated, I think that our general audience has heard of Arch Manning. Even if you aren't a college football fan, you know that Arch Manning is there at Texas now if you're a sports fan. You may not know Quint Ewers, but Quint Ewers is considered one of the best quarterback prospects we've had, in the last 10 years? Since Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields? That's fair to say.
Yeah, no, it is. He hit the exclusive, perfect prospect grade, which is 1,000 or it's basically 100%.
It's 1.
Yeah. I don't think we've had a quarterback hit it since Vince Young, if I remember correctly. So this is a very special player.
This is an elite of elite. And as good as Arch Manning is as a prospect, he's a freshman. And if you put them in the same class, they were Quint Ewers was rated much higher or considered a better prospect, even though they're both elite prospects. Quint Ewers was just that much more, that much better. So Adam Schefter tweets earlier this week, Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian said today that sophomore Quint Ewers and freshman Arch Manning will compete for the team's starting quarterback job. Come on, Mox. That's not what he said.
It's not. And what I hate about that Schefter tweet is I think it's a clear misrepresentation and to do numbers. basically. That was the only intent, because that's not even close to what he said. The actual quote is, "I'm not worried about who's going to be on the cover of what magazine next week. I'm more focused on, is each guy focusing on what they need to do to develop into the best player that they can be. Quinn has an entire year of a head start, but I don't want to hold Arch back. I want to see how far he could take this thing and what it can look like." That, to me, is a coach who is bringing in a freshman quarterback that's highly regarded, is very skilled, and is saying, "Hey, like, we think he could like push a little bit because of how skilled he is coming into school." This is still a guy who went to Isidore Newman, and Isidore Newman is a private school in Louisiana, but it is still fairly low-level competition. I think Arch Manning is a very talented and mature player, but he like going from a school in that competition to Texas is a huge step, and I don't think Quinn Ewers has to worry about Arch Manning. I don't think Steve Sarkisian believes that Quinn Ewers has to worry about Arch Manning, but it's irresponsible, and I know you feel the same way.
I do feel the same way, but I'm going to be honest. I've had enough of these insiders. Adam Schefter, Todd McShay, just get rid of all of them. If it's not Adam Schefter tweeting out, Jason Pierre-Paul's medical records, it's Todd McShay calling some player that they have character issues when nobody believes that player has character issues. I've had enough of these dudes. I've had enough of the NFL insiders, quite frankly. You know what? Let the beat writers cover it. I'd be fine with that, because all this twisting of words, I've had enough of it.
And Texas beat writers, people who actually cover the team, were actually angry about that Schefter tweet because they felt it was taken out of context. There are a lot of people around the Texas program who cover them on a day-to-day basis that felt that it was irresponsible and like laughed it off. And so Schefter, that is not your job, man. It's
not his job.
You're a water carrier. You're a water carrier for NFL owners. That is what you are. You are a spokesperson for the NFL owners, and have been at times an irresponsible journalist. I don't want to hear it. I'm passionate about this because I just think it was so irresponsible for the national media to pick this up, and Schefter led the charge because of his following.
Yeah. I don't follow Adam Schefter. I don't like the reason I would follow him is for like injury news, and I get that from Twitter faster than Adam Schefter on Sundays for fantasy football. So Mox, I want to get into the NFL Combine. Everybody else has had their turn. It's our turn. We are the college football guys here. In our leagues, in Campus2Canton leagues, for those who don't know, Campus2Canton is the name of this show. It's the name of our website. It is the name of a format of fantasy football where you have two teams, a college team and an NFL team. And it operates kind of like NFL Dynasty, except for you have a college dynasty team and you're scoring points every single week, just like in any other form of fantasy football. And when those players declare for the NFL draft, they're added to your NFL team. So it's just a comprehensive form of fantasy football. So we have to scout these players as freshmen and figure out who are the NFL players going to be. By the way, Campus2Canton Freshman and Supplemental Draft Guide 2023 edition available at the site right now. Mox, I have been on Anthony Richardson for the last 3 years.
I can confirm that, yeah.
I went on Moose and Keith.
At least a year ago.
I went on Moose and Keith before this college football season. Yeah, not last year. Before the season started, and I said, this is the player that you got to pay attention to. They're playing Utah that first week of the season. This is a player you got to pay attention to. And now the entire sports media industrial complex is talking about Anthony Richardson because he's the most athletic quarterback ever. Just ever. I want to get into some true and false here with the 2023 NFL draft. I say, this is fun. It's going to be a fun game. A lot of games around here. Okay, true or false? It's considered a weak wide receiver class. Now, Jackson Smith and Jigba went and like 3 events, didn't run the 40, but everybody thinks he's this underworld athlete because he did the stuff that he would be good at. Didn't run the 40. Is he wide receiver? No, I'm sorry. True or false? Jackson Smith and Jigba is wide receiver 1.
False. He didn't run the 40, but he posted, really, really excellent, like top 10 times in the 3-cone and the shuttle. I mean, he's a really, really great athlete. Like agility wise, don't necessarily know that translates to other parts of his game, and I don't think that's enough to put him wide receiver 1 because I don't think he can, as of now, operate outside of the slot. So he went from plus 300 pre-combine to minus 130 post-combine to be the first wide receiver selected. Those are terrible odds. Like I would never, ever, ever lay it with Jason to be the first wide receiver selected.
Accusation. These are not accusations. This is false accusation.
It's false.
Yeah, it is false. I don't know what the books are thinking putting this line out. Like I actually think that's really exploitable. Both for Quentin Johnson, who is plus 275 in the second, most likely, and then Addison, who is plus 550. I think Quentin Johnson has a better chance to be selected over JSN still, and I think Addison might.
Because he profiles as an X wide receiver, which the NFL still covets. The NFL does not covet Jackson. There is no player that you would comp Jackson Smith and Jigba to who's been drafted in the first round. Oh, he's Cooper Kupp. Well, Cooper was a 3rd-round draft pick. He's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 4th-round draft pick. I mean, all of the wide receivers that you would comp him to were day 2 or 3 picks.
Yeah, and I think if you want to be generous, and I don't think this is a bad comp either, Robert Woods.
There you go.
What, and he was still a 2nd-round draft pick. Keenan Allen. 3rd-round draft pick. Those players just don't. Yeah. Those players just don't get drafted in the first round. And I actually do think he will end up going in the first round just because of how stellar his production profile is. But I do not think he will be the first wide receiver drafted.
I still don't think so. When we talk about his production profile, Chris, we're not talking about his freshman year.
He's going to go in the first round
last year. I don't think. No, I don't. I don't think he's going to go in the first round. I don't know if he's going to go in the top.
I just think the wide receiver 1 is bull crap.
Okay. All right. But the production profile that you're talking about is his 2nd year. Out of 3 years, it's that one. Last year he didn't play; he was injured.
Where he outproduced 2 1,000-yard rookie receivers in the NFL.
Fine, but
it's a really stellar profile.
If production was the end all be all, we would be talking about like Donnell Pumphrey from San Diego State being an elite
2,000-yard rusher, right?
Back. He was a record-setting rusher at San Diego State. Went to the Eagles. No, it's not. I don't care about his production.
Comparing Donnell Pumphrey and Jackson Smith went to Ohio State.
That's exactly what that's an apples to apples comparison.
That is insulting.
Apples to apples. It's apples
to asparagus.
I'm going to say false also on Jackson Smith and Jigba being wide receiver 1. I think it's more. So this is why. I think it's more likely that it's Quentin Johnston because he can play X, or it would be, to me, Jordan Addison because he can play all 3 positions. He can play X. He can play slot. He can play flanker if you want to. He can run the slot routes. He can run deep if you want him to. So he has a little bit more versatility to his game, which is why I would say Addison. I like Johnson and Addison's odds, especially Addison's odds at plus 550.
I wish he had tested a little bit better. That's a concern coming out of the combine that he didn't test super well for a guy who's his size. But he tests favorably to probably one of his better comps in Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think you can knock him that much considering that's the way the NFL's trending.
Do you think the first wide receiver is going to be taken within the top 15 picks or after?
Probably within. I don't have the NFL draft board in front of me, but I would guess probably like 12 to 15 is a sweet spot for the first wide receiver.
12. I think that's right. I don't know that if I was an NFL GM, of Chicago's going to end up trading down. They need a wide receiver. I don't know that there's a wide receiver that I want to take in the top 15 picks. I just don't know that there is. Let's go to quarterback here, Moxley. The aforementioned Anthony Richardson. True or false? He is the quarterback 1 in this class.
False, and I never really felt like he could get there in terms of first quarterback selected off the board, and that's kind of how I'm viewing this when we talk about quarterback 1. Bryce Young is still minus 250 to go first. I don't think that's crazy. I actually think Stroud at plus 275 is a really good
275.
Yeah, plus 275 is way too short. All of these, by the way, all of these odds are off DraftKings. I pulled them like an hour or two ago. Stroud plus 75 is plus 275 is pretty good value in my opinion. If you want to try to stake your claim there, I wouldn't bet Bryce Young plus 250 or minus 250. I just don't think there's value. So Richardson went from plus 500 pre-combine to plus 300 post-combine. That puts him third, and I think that's probably right. Like, I think he certainly jumped Will Levis, who's gone all the way down to plus 1,300. Like, I think we've defined a clear top 3, but I don't think that he's quarterback 1. His tape his accuracy is just so bad that you really need to tell a story to get there.
I agree with you. However, I will just raise my hand here. I've always said that he was a top 15 NFL draft pick, and he will be. He is going to be taken in the top 15. The reason why it's difficult to project if he's QB1 is the Bears are not going to stay in that pick. I think that once that pick, no.
So if I gave you plus 7, I think it's plus 750. No, yeah, it's plus 750 if the Bears select first overall. Short, is that too short? Or like, I actually think it's a pretty good bet. Like, I think there's a chance they might stay there at that odd.
No, I don't think
like you don't have to bet a lot to be a winner there.
They're building as a franchise. There's just they have their franchise quarterback. They can trade to 4. They can trade like within the top 5 and be fine and still get their player, whether that be a defensive end or if they want to get a wide receiver. I don't think so.
I think the Indy pick is where they trade down to.
Yeah.
Get a nice haul.
And Indianapolis playing in the dome with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. That team's going to run a lot, and they're going to be hard to stop. So, all right. So I agree with you. My quarterback 1 has always been C.J. Stroud. Since it has always been C.J. Stroud, C.J. Stroud just presents a higher floor. And if I'm an NFL GM, like, where am I going to risk my job and my livelihood? It's with C.J. Stroud, who just as a passer does things on time, even though he doesn't have the kind of scrambling athleticism of Bryce Young. I like C.J. Stroud's old school drop back, get the ball out game, but he's lethal in that 8 to 15 yard range. Surround him with wide receivers and a good offensive line, and he can pick apart defenses. He could absolutely. He called himself a ball placement specialist, and you watch his tape, and he makes throws like how I don't know how he got that in there, but that's C.J. Stroud.
He's souped up Jared Goff. Like, is that a
yes?
It's like that's
a compliment. That's good.
Yeah, souped up Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not terrible. I mean,
no, he's fine.
C.J. Stroud is the best version of Jared Goff, basically, and that's not a bad player. If you're an NFL GM, you'll take that.
C.J. Stroud is the oatmeal raisin of cookies. The oatmeal raisin. That's
a little too controversial. He's like a sugar cookie.
What do you mean?
A lot of people don't like oatmeal raisin. I think a lot more people like. Fine. Yeah, it's fine, but a lot of people don't like it. I think everyone likes sugar cookies. Some people think it's fine. Some people think it's really good. And I think that's where you get the C.J. Stroud evaluation.
I want to stay here. We don't have odds, but I want to stay here with Will Levis. True or false, Will Levis is a first-round quarterback. Let me answer here first, Chris Moxley. Again, going back to the GM question. I have my kids in the school in the area. I've got a nice house in a gated community. I'm probably driving, a new Jeep or something like that. Are you going to tell me I'm going to risk all of that and have to pick up my family and move to Jacksonville because I drafted Will Levis in the first round? There's no chance. There's not one GM. Like, if that pick is made, I think it's the owner making them make that pick.
So is he a first-round quarterback is the question. Yes, he is. He will be taken in the first round. Do I think he should be a first-round quarterback? No, and I've maintained this probably throughout the entire season and offseason. No, he is not a first-round talent. He will go in the first round the same way Daniel Jones went in the first round. Daniel Jones just had, like a $35 million contract, $40 million contract? Like, the parallels are pretty similar. I expect him to go top 10 to it would not surprise me if the Carolina Panthers went on stage and selected Will Levis. Like, that just feels so on brand for David Tepper, their owner. Just I think that's where we're going with it. But he will be a first rounder. That is true.
Terrible choice. You know what? It is a good choice, Chris Moxley. That's the Better Baseball Preview. We're getting ready for the upcoming baseball season with the Better Baseball Preview, from fantasy baseball to MLB betting and the newest baseball cards for 2023. You can access our exclusive content for free right now at bettersports.com, featuring some of the sharpest baseball minds in the industry like Adam Ronis, Ray Flowers, Kyle Elfrink, and Cody Decker. Get players, profiles, prop bets, and futures, sleepers and busts, fantasy draft strategies, collectibles, and so much more at no cost. Register now, Chris, at bettersports.com to get instant access plus notifications when new features are released. The Better Baseball Preview at bettersports.com. When we come back, we're going to talk Michael Mayer, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kayshon Boutte. We'll continue with True False. This is Felix Sharpe, Chris Moxley. This is Better Sports Network.
Campus to Canton. Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
The word genius is there. Bob Glauber, it describes him. Bob, so when's the last time that Twitter defeated you? Because I've been defeated by Twitter today.
I'll tell you how Twitter defeated me one time. I had the mistaken impression that the year that Troy Polamalu won the Defensive Player of the Year, it looked like it was going to go to Clay Matthews Jr., and I tweeted it. And there was a guy on the media bus. He was like, oh, yeah, he's got it, a guy I trust. I won't tell you who it was, but his initials are Mike Garafalo. So I went with it. Got a DM from Rich Eisen, NFL Network. He goes, you sure about that? I go, oh, man. Oh, I just got this wave. Because, like, accuracy to me is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm literally on the media bus. We're just getting back from media day. We are slipping and sliding in Dallas. It's snowing. I get off the bus. I open my laptop. I am hunched over. And I just, like, literally people are passing me. Bob, what's wrong? And it was Polamalu. And Adam Schefter had retweeted me. Trey Wingo had retweeted me. I'm like, I'm dead.
So when it's Polamalu, then how do you handle that? Like, what was the subsequent tweet
I think
afterward?
I said, got some bad Twitter info. I didn't put Garafalo's name on there. I had to
10 years later, you can out him. I like that. Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't mind that. He knows the stories.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, hey, Bob, I think you might have jumped the gun on that. I was like, oh, crap. There we go.
Campus to Canton on the Better Sports Network.
Would Dion bench Shedeur?
I don't think he would.
Like, how bad would it have to be? Because we've seen horrendous quarterback play from this Colorado team for the last, 5 years? JT Shroud, Brandon Lewis, just terrible quarterback play. Like, they were 131st, which is dead last in pass EPA per play. Obviously, it will be better, but how bad does it have to be for him to bench his own son? Like, I'm not sure he will ever either, like, especially with the attitude that he came in with.
If they don't get Rashada, who do they bench him for this year anyway? I don't know that there's another answer on that roster that you go to. They don't really have a guy behind him. So I don't even know if we would know the answer to that until the next year, assuming that, he doesn't declare for the draft, he returns, they bring somebody else that's competent and behind him.
If they're going to do this the Lincoln Riley way, next year would be the class to bring somebody in. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a third-year player. So he's going to play 2023. I don't think he's declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. So he's going to play in 2024 and then declare for the 2025 NFL draft. And let's remember this. He hasn't had a full recruiting cycle at Colorado. He will have that next recruiting cycle. So maybe he could get one of these class of 2024 quarterbacks that ever come to Colorado.
However you're invested in sports, From betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more. Join our community on Better Sports Network. Campus2Canton. Campus2Canton on the Better Sports Network.
Play our free NFL free agency match game at bettersports.com/game. Match 10 NFL free agents with the NFL teams you think they will sign contracts with. First prize is a $250 gift card to the bettersports.com collectibles shop, where you can purchase authentic hand-signed merchandise of your favorite NFL players. Play the NFL free agency match game right now at bettersports/game. All right. Mox, we're going to play this game here, okay? NFL free agent game. I think this is funny because let's just be honest, Mox. We both know more about college football than we do about the NFL. So let's see if you all can beat us. Mox, let's just who's the head coach at Toledo?
Currently it's Jason Candle.
All right. Who's the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals?
They hired Gannon, right? The Eagles defense coordinator, I think.
Are you asking me or telling me?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Who's the head coach Who's the head coach at Miami of Ohio?
That's easy. We just talked to him. It's Chuck Martin.
It's Chuck Martin. Who's the head coach of the Oakland Raiders? This is an easy one. Come on now. It's Josh McDaniels.
Oh, yeah, it's Josh McDaniels. I do not watch NFL football on Sunday. Like I will watch maybe 3 hours of NFL football a week if I am lucky.
Now we have to. This is why. Listen. In fairness to us, it's our job to raise the baby and to get him to the NFL draft. And then once he's at the NFL draft, NFL, you take him, and we'll get those points on our dynasty leagues. But
you don't have home ec classes that are taking care of like a toddler. You got home ec classes that are taking care of an egg.
Yeah,
make sure that egg gets there for a week. That egg is us.
And we're taking care of Caleb Williams. We're taking care of Drake May. We're taking care of Marvin Harrison Jr. Those guys. And then once they get to the NFL, we'll forget who they are.
Once they become a beautiful chicken.
Let's do a few of these. Matching the player with their NFL team. Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think he could be a Raider. I think they're going to be looking for someone similar-ish enough to Derek Carr to lead that team. And I actually think he can, I say I don't watch the NFL, but I know enough that Jimmy Garoppolo is probably a good fit within Josh McDaniels' offense, considering they have familiarity going back to New England.
Yeah, and I don't know if his offensive coordinator was Bill O'Brien or Josh McDaniels, but I mean, you got to figure he has familiarity with the system. So I like that one. Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo to me has always been a guy that you need to stash as a QB2 in Superflex leagues, and I'm not sure why his value has always been as low as it has been. When he starts, he's fine. He just needs to stay healthy. How about this one? Miles Sanders. I'm a big Miles Sanders fan. He followed in Saquon Barkley's footsteps there at Penn State and has really, really improved, had his best season last year for the Eagles. Who do you think he can go to?
I actually think he'll stay in Philadelphia at kind of like a discount contract. I don't think he's anything special. And I've thought that he's meh for a long time. But I do think given what Philadelphia can do, and if he wants to, be interested in winning a little bit more than maximizing his max value, he'll stay in Philadelphia. I think that Miami's another interesting choice. I think the scheme isn't totally 100% different. I think it's kind of similar enough where he can do damage for the Dolphins.
One more here. David Montgomery. Now, I'm saying David Montgomery, I think his story is interesting because he could potentially be a critical part of what they're trying to build around Justin Fields. And I think it's also a running back. And how does the NFL value the running back position in this modern league where, second contract RBs, I don't really want to give him a whole lot of money. So David Montgomery.
Yeah, I think Denver is an interesting choice, right? I think they're going to move on from Melvin Gordon, or they already have. Oh, they already have, actually. I do remember that from the NFL season.
I'm sorry. Don't defame the name of Super Bowl champion, 2023 Super Bowl champion Melvin Gordon.
Yes, I forgot at the time. I think he'd be an interesting Melvin Gordon replacement. We're not totally sure how healthy Javonte Williams is going to be heading into the year. I think that's not a bad spot for him, and I don't think he's going to stick around in Chicago. To be honest, I don't think he's a super impressive player. I just think he's more of a plotter than anything else. The guy who's elusive within like 3 yards of the line, but that's because he has to be elusive, not because he actually is elusive. So, I don't have a lot of nice things to say about David Montgomery, to be fair. But I think Denver's a really interesting landing spot for him.
That means Khalil Herbert. Fire up Khalil Herbert in Chicago. All right, Mox, before we went to break, we were playing the true-false game from the NFL Combine, okay? So I want to come back to that, and let's talk about Kayshon Boutte. 29-inch vertical, not a 10-10 broad jump. This is a guy who came out gangbusters his freshman year. Probably had an injury. It's not well. We've seen him in a boot. It's not clear that he was injured or what the injury was.
He was injured. We just don't know what it was.
And was allegedly a part of this hotel party in Atlanta that we talked about, where some things went down in the DMs. It goes down and all right. Kayshon Boutte, true or false? He should fire his advisors.
Oh, true. Whoever told him that he should test athletically,
absolutely,
outside of the 40 is an idiot, because he ran a 4.55, which is fine. Yeah. But a 29-inch vertical, which was the worst of any receiver there, and then a 9.10 broad jump, which was the second worst of any skill position player there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who's advising Kayshon Boutte to do anything at the combine. I just Why? Like, who told him to do
this? It's terrible, because this is a guy who is headed towards top 15-ish NFL draft cap. I mean, he was headed
top 10. Like, don't even sugarcoat it. He was the next big thing.
Yeah. And it seems like every class has one of these players who is really highly touted, and then for one reason or another, they just don't develop, or they have a medical condition, and their value either just tanks to like undrafted free agent, or they don't even. So I'm thinking off the top of my head, Journey Brown at Penn State.
He had to retire.
Retire, right? Because of heart issues. DJ Uiagalelei was supposed to be in this class after taking over for Trevor Lawrence. Had the 2020 season pandemic where he had to fill in for Trevor Lawrence, and hasn't done a damn thing since then.
I'm convinced he has the yips. DJ,
yeah.
Like, I just think he has the yips.
100%. I mean, I'm sure I could think of some other players that now Kayshon Boutte. Spencer Rattler is another one. Lincoln Riley quarterback, #1 overall quarterback in his class. He's going to be a 5th-year senior this year?
Yeah, this will be his 5th year at South Carolina.
Yeah. All right. 2 more here, okay? People hate Michael Mayer. He had a RAS score 197 out of 1,020 tight ends since 1997. So not very good historically. He has a 4.7 40 time, a 32.5-inch vertical. This is a dude who's what, 200? Is it 200? Well, we think he played at 265 pounds. I can't remember what he weighed in at the combine.
It was 249 at the combine, but he plays
249. Big boy. Yeah. Do you think, true or false, his athletic testing will not hurt his draft stock, Chris Moxley?
True. I actually don't think it will hurt his draft stock. I think he's a first-round tight end. And to me, I mean, I think that's cool. The 20s is always where I expected him to be drafted. I think he's going to go to Los Angeles, the Chargers, or Cincinnati. Both are 5 landing spots. I think he's going to be a quarterback's like security blanket the same way Jason Witten was. Like Jason Witten's a
I
really
agree.
popular comp. That's not a bad comp, and Jason Witten's fantasy productive too. I hate the Michael Mayer slander because he's a really, really good tight end. He just isn't. His RAS score is over 8, which is really good. And everybody's like, "Oh no, he's trash." Like he's a very, very good tight end.
He's not George Kittle. He's not,
he's not
Travis Kelce. He's a different player. He might be more of a guy who's going to make contested catches in the 8 to 10 range as opposed to 30 yards down the field. But
he's Zach Ertz, Jason Witten. Yeah. That's who he is. That's not a bad player, though. That's a really good player.
No, it's not a good player. It's not a good player, and he has sticky hands. So, all right, this is the last one I want to ask, Chris Moxley. Jahmyr Gibbs, my concern with Jahmyr Gibbs that he was going to go to the NFL Combine and weigh in at 185 pounds. That, by the way, Jahmyr Gibbs out of Dalton, Georgia, not offered by Kirby Smart at Georgia, or offered very, very late in the process after essentially he had already made his decision. And Kirby Smart has a history of missing on Georgia running backs. It's not just Jahmyr Gibbs, but we identified this guy very early on as, I think he's been my RB2 since 2020, even as a freshman at Georgia Tech. I thought he was going to weigh in at 185 pounds because he can seem light. He doesn't. He weighs in at 199. That's, just below 200 pounds. Great. But I thought, okay, maybe this guy bulked up to weigh in. So is he going to not run? No, he ran. What did he run? He ran a 4.36 on his second attempt. So the explosiveness that we see on tape was matched with how he tested. Mox. I'm sorry. So he's explosive running back, but probably the best pass catching running back that we've seen since Christian McCaffrey. Can legitimately win down the field out of the backfield on wheel routes, can beat your linebackers on arrow routes. But I think the thing that separates him is we've seen Aaron Jones used this way on wheel routes down the field. I think Jahmyr Gibbs can do that, but he can also line up in the slot and just create mismatches for you. That is a chess piece, so he's not just a running back like Jonathan Taylor or, Derrick Henry, one of these bigger guys. Like, you can move him around the field. I think that he's going to be a top 32 draft pick. Jahmyr Gibbs, top 32 draft pick, first round, true or false?
I'm going to say false, and I don't want that to be an indictment. I do not want that to be an indictment on how highly I think Jahmyr Gibbs.
It is. You've just indicted.
It's not. It's not. Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift both went round 2, like early round 2. So, where were they pick like 35 and 42 or something like that? Like, I think that's probably the range he ends up. He's a really good player, and I think that you hit on it. I actually thought he was going to test close to where he weighed in because he's not 185 the same way Devin Achane is 185. Like, I didn't think that was in his range of outcomes. So I was happy with his size. Listed at 200 at Alabama, 199. That's fine. He was used more creatively at Georgia Tech than he was at Alabama. And I think that's an indictment on Bill O'Brien. Yes. I don't think we saw what his upside truly was last year with the Crimson Tide. I think that if you want to see what his upside is, you go back to those first 2 years at Georgia Tech and you say, okay, this dude is a freak. And I think he is. I just think he's a very, very talented player. And he's my RB2 as well. I know some people are down on him for, litany of different reasons. But I'm a big fan too. But I don't necessarily think he's going to be a first rounder. I think an early second round is where he ends up.
This is where I think his value could just skyrocket. Is Kansas City Chiefs picking at the end of the first round. They tried this once with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jahmyr Gibbs is on the same spectrum, including Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this guy that you can use in a multitude of ways, but is 2 to 3 times his ability, his capacity. And we've seen Andy Reid do this before. I know you're young, Chris. There was a guy named Brian Westbrook in Philadelphia.
Brian Westbrook was my first ever fantasy pick,
we go.
By the way.
There we go.
So listen, you got to sell me on Brian Westbrook, who I think is also 199, right? Like pretty darn close to
somewhere around there. Yeah. Similar size, similar play style. Man, I'm telling you, if Andy Reid gets a hold of Jahmyr Gibbs could have a Hall of Fame career in the right situation. Hall of Fame career in the right situation. We're going to go to break.
That is correct.
When we come back, we're going to go to true college football and talk about some win totals that have been posted. Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State. All that's coming up next. This is Campus2Canton on Better Sports Network.
Campus2Canton. Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Better Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover.
Okay.
06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander.
Okay.
08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know
and Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know all this.
14, also a trick question.
Uh-huh.
I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at...
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay. Keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. But yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that is really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had two people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Better Sports Network. Campus2Canton. Campus2Canton on the Better Sports Network.
I need some like matcha tea or something like that. My voice, we've been doing a lot of talking the last couple of days, and my voice is breaking. Did you notice, or was I being smooth about it? Because I don't know. I feel like I was not being smooth.
I kind of thought you were going through puberty.
Mox, we got some college football win totals. I mean, the season is going. I've already bought tickets to the Colorado first home game. Going to Colorado. They play Nebraska, the first home game. Yep. Got my tickets. They were less expensive than Beyonce tickets, but not that much less expensive than Beyonce tickets. So I guess Coach Prime is like a one-man band because even in the rafters, it was pretty expensive. So Michigan, their win total is 10.5, okay? 10.5. Let's go through these. Well, so we got some non-conference games. ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Indiana, Purdue, of course, Ohio State. Those are all the home games. Away. Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, Penn State. I think they lose to Penn State. They lose. That's probably going to be a whiteout game. Drew Aller is the third best quarterback in the country, right after Drake May and Caleb Williams. I almost forgot his name. I think they lose that one. I think they lose. I think that Ohio State gets them back this year.
So under 10.5.
Under. Yeah. Give me something.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah.
I think Penn State is going to be really good this year. And, I think there's potential to trip up somewhere else.
Sure.
Maybe Michigan State in East Lansing is that spot.
Michigan State is so terrible offensively. I just don't see.
Minnesota.
But Michigan might be also.
Yeah, Minnesota plays a funky little game where they could get you. Purdue isn't the same threat that they were under Brom, where they could beat anybody in the country any given week. So I would lean under. I don't know if this is one that I'm rushing out to make a play on. But one loss. I think there might be two on the schedule. We just don't know where the other one is. I think one of Penn State and Ohio State will beat them though.
I feel like as we get closer to the season, I will be talking more and more about Drew Aller. Do you have any strong convictions or feelings about him?
No, I just think he's we've known about him for a while
Allen.
now. That's what I was going to say. I think he's the best comparable we've seen to Josh Allen in a long time.
So
not Will Levis.
Not only
Drew
the
Aller.
way he moves, but his ability to play the game vertically. I think that he's going to be a fun watch this year for Penn State. And they already have the best running back in college football in Nick Singleton. Nick Singleton is Nick Chubb, is Jonathan Taylor. He's going to weigh 220 pounds at the combine. He's going to run a 4.4 or something like that.
Or better.
It's just Penn State is going to play a fun brand of football, which is why, Penn State playoff, I'm taking all of them. Penn State national championship bets, I would take some of those too.
Drew Aller is 6'5", 242 currently.
242.
Big boy.
He's a big boy, and he can throw that. He can throw the pill. He can. Watch the game against
Ohio.
Ohio. National championship, Georgia. They have way too many home games.
Yes, they do.
Over under 11.5. Over under 11.5. So basically, we're looking for this team to go undefeated or not. Away. Let's start with the away games. They're not going to lose any of these. Yeah, I was going to say okay. Auburn has a new head coach. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. I don't know that Tennessee is going to come with the same firepower that it had last year with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker. Now, Joe Milton.
Georgia should crush them regardless.
Yeah, that's true. They should. Georgia should crush them regardless. They're going to have a first-time starting quarterback regardless. And there's just, Georgia's going to have better talent. Auburn, new head coach there in Auburn, Hugh Freeze, bringing a new system. They're going to crush them too. So no losses there. UT Martin win, Ball State win, UAB win, South Carolina win, Kentucky win, Missouri win, Florida win, Ole Miss win. Are they going undefeated again? I mean, things happen. Weird things happen in college football, but I cannot. There's no clear loss on this schedule. Now, they played Kentucky tight last year. They also played Kent State tight last year, but they still won those games. This team is going to be more talented than any team that it faces. I mean, they're not going to lose any. I don't think they're going to lose any of the away games. I mean, you have to, if you're going to pick a game for them to lose, it would have to be an away game. And I just don't see. Georgia Tech's not good. Tennessee's going to have a new starting quarterback. Vanderbilt's not good. Auburn's got a new head coach. They're not going to lose any of those.
Yeah. So if South Carolina was away, I actually think that they would give them a run for their money, not from a homer perspective, but because we've beat them. We're the only team, I think, that's beat them in the SEC East twice in the last 5 years. Like South Carolina, I don't know what they do, but for some reason they have their number when it's in South Carolina, but it's not. They're home, so they'll probably win by like 40. South Carolina freaking sucks. Florida is a home game, but it's in Jacksonville, which is like, what is it, largest cocktail party I don't remember exactly what it's called. Largest cocktail party, something. I just on principle, it's so hard for me to get down with a undefeated season when I'm betting. I think they could slip up, but I thought they could slip up for a long time, and they just keep proving me wrong. So
I don't think we know who the starting quarterback is. I think we know what the running back rotation is going to be like at Georgia. It's going to be between Kendall Milton, Branson Robinson. Man, the NFL has a good pipeline at skill positions because Branson Robinson is coming. The running back pipeline is healthy. The quarterback pipeline is healthy. I'm talking about even guys who aren't in college yet. Dylan Royola is not in college yet. He's going to be a future first-round draft pick. So there's some health there. But specifically at Georgia, it's probably going to be between Gunnar Stockton and Carson Beck. Carson Beck, vanilla
I think it's going to be
quarterback. Well, he was the backup last year. He's been the backup the last 2 years. Was the backup as a freshman. So it's probably going to be him, but I don't know that he's necessarily exciting. And they lose Todd Monken to the Baltimore Ravens. Like, this is a team.
Was Stetson Bennett exciting? Like, how much worse is Carson Beck than Stetson Bennett? Carson Beck was like a high 4-star recruit. Stetson Bennett was a walk-on, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, but a team that can just bludgeon you. They've got there are 3 or 4 running backs in that backfield between Branson Robinson, the freshman Roderick Robinson, Kendall Milton, Andrew Paul, Dejon Edwards. Dejon Edwards is the only one with a different body type. The rest of the guys that I just named, they're all the big, bruising, physical between the tackles guys with some speed. But Branson Robinson probably has the highest ceiling out of those 4. So I would like to see what the odds are on this Georgia team total because I don't see a loss immediately on the schedule, and I would think if they're going to slip up, they're going to slip up on the road. But none of these teams, really present a threat. So
I don't want to downplay Georgia or anything, but I don't think that.
That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're about to do.
It is in one capacity. I don't think their home environment is anything that's super scary for what it's worth. Like there are probably 5 or 6 better SEC home environments than there are.
Sure.
And part of it is the stadium is literally in the middle of campus. Like, it's across from Student Union. Like, I have been to Georgia Stadium. It's not a conducive stadium for rowdy tailgating psychopaths that you have in like many other SEC stadiums. Like, it's just not conducive for that in the same way. So I don't think the home environment is the exact same as, like an LSU, Alabama, Auburn. It just isn't that level. And so I don't elevate their odds maybe the same way at home. So I say that, and I use 2.2 as my home advantage on average, and Georgia's 1.9. So like, their home advantage is good, but it's not like amazing when we talk about like odds and betting and whatnot.
Okay.
So that's me downgrading Georgia. Yes.
By the way, we should mention spring games for all of these teams coming up in April, and it will be nationally televised. So Ohio State 10.5. All right, let me give you the away games. Another team like whose schedule I'm like, I wish they played. Their team is stronger than Georgia's. Indiana, Notre Dame, Purdue, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan. Notre Dame is a name. I don't know that that Notre Dame is necessarily a threat. Michigan, they've lost to Michigan the last 2 years. They're going to be looking for revenge. Michigan is a team that their winning strategy, I don't know that there's long-term success for this strategy. We're just going to pound the ball. So they want to be Georgia without the athletes and recruiting classes that Georgia gets. They want to win with their offensive line and running game and then beat you on defense. They don't get the recruiting classes that Georgia gets to play that way.
They don't. And they've won or been finals for the Joe Moore Award, which is best offensive line in back-to-back years. And they've been exposed when they play higher quality opponents. You're right, 100%.
Even after 2 back-to-back years in the playoffs, I think their recruiting class has been like 20th, which for a team that is going to be building, you would expect them to be at least in the top 5. But Miami
especially
is recruiting
with Harbaugh, right? Like you would think with Harbaugh, you would be able to attract better talent, and he was doing that at maybe 5 or 6 years ago when he was bringing in guys like Rashawn Gary, who was, I believe, a top 5 recruit in his class out of New Jersey. Like, that's a big time win. You're not seeing those from Michigan anymore.
No, we're not seeing that. I want to bring up their recruit because this is something I've talked about. I said that Jim Harbaugh should be fired, and this is kind of why. So Michigan's recruiting class ranks 18. That means teams like Auburn recruiting better than Michigan, South Carolina recruiting better than Michigan, Clemson's like dropped off, recruiting better than Michigan, Miami just got a new head coach, recruiting better than Michigan. I think that's. I mean, if I'm the athletic director at Michigan, that's unacceptable. I mean, we have to do something. They're recruiting on the same level as TCU. TCU and Michigan should not be on the same level. Recruiting
when your head coach flirts with going to the NFL every season, I mean that can't be good for morale.
I don't know why would somebody want. I don't know why somebody would want Jim Harbaugh as their head coach.
And Ann Arbor is beautiful. I really like Ann Arbor.
Hey, you've just been everywhere, huh?
I've been a couple places. I mean, I like it. Like I'm just saying, I like Ann Arbor. If I was a recruit, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, this place sucks." I
don't think I gave the. I did not give the home games for Ohio State. Okay, so Youngstown State win. Western
Penguins.
Kentucky. Are they the Penguins?
I don't know what their actual mascot is, but it is a penguin.
The Youngstown State. You're telling me Youngstown State is in Ohio. You're telling me that their mascot is the Penguins. Western Kentucky, Maryland, Penn State, Michigan State, Minnesota. Again, every time I see Penn State on that schedule, Penn State's schedule's got to be really tough. They got Michigan and Ohio State.
It's. I mean, they play them every year because it's the Big Ten East. So I mean, it's baked in. But they're actually good this year, which should concern Ohio State and Michigan. I lean under because I don't think Ohio State is as good this year as they have been in past years. They have not recruited to the standard that they need to on defense. So, you don't have game breakers on the defensive line, and you don't have game breaker in the secondary the same way. Lorenzo Styles' brother, I think it's Sonny Styles, is a safety there. And I think he's a good player, but that's one of my favorite players in secondary, and they just haven't done so. But yes, Youngstown State is the Penguins, by the way. I looked it up to confirm.
And you didn't know who the head coach of the Oakland Raiders was, but you knew the mascot for Youngstown State. I don't think anybody could get that. By the way, Lorenzo Styles, wide receiver at Notre Dame. Styles, wide receiver at Notre Dame. So we're going under 10.5. They're going to lose 2 games.
I think they could lose to both Michigan and Penn State. Yeah. I think Wisconsin could surprise both Michigan and Ohio State with their new offense with Phil Longo, who's an air raid guy at the helm, and they brought in transfer quarterback from SMU, Tanner Mordecai. I think they have the potential to surprise, considering that's an offense that hasn't been the Big Ten before. And the teams are probably really unfamiliar with it.
We got to do this one quick. Our favorite team, Colorado, over under 4.5. We kind of already talked about Colorado.
Are you over
4.5? I mean, I think they win their first home game. I think they beat Colorado State, but there's not really another easy win there.
I'm going under. It actually opened at 6, by the way.
Did it?
Yeah, and it got bet under very quickly. I'm going under easily for Colorado. I just don't see 5 wins on the schedule. I don't know where they get there, even though I think they're going to be better this year.
We'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.